Hello, fellow traders. Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you on Wednesday, June the 2nd. The year's 2021. Let's talk trading. Hold, fold, or bank, part 2 with Walmal. This video, like all the other videos, are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and from Walmal's. Walmal, you said you wanted to go on a rant.
I don't know, a rant, but just you wanted to go and talk about the Walmal method and how you can make money on it, and how I think some traders out there are just not understanding something. When I say that that my goal is 10 pips, my goal is to get 10 pips for the day. It's not to get 10 pips on the trade. Now, originally, now to be completely transparent, when I first started doing the Walmal method, I was trying to go and get 10 pips per trade. And the reason why was because back then, a couple of years ago, what was happening was the pound dollar, it would move, and it would move, in one direction for 10 pips, easily 20 pips one direction before it would go and retrace back out. Now, I don't think the ranges have changed that much over the years, meaning that during the times that I trade, generally speaking, you see somewhere between 20 and 30 pips. That hasn't changed. But what has changed is market condition. And what I mean by that market condition is that a lot of times the pound will go up 5 pips, and then it'll run against you 7, 8 pips, and then it'll go up, 10 pips the other direction, and back and forth like that. And so you can get chopped out. So does that mean that, you just go and blindly trade that? No, that would be kind of silly, I think. Just looking at this hour that we're currently in, and I'm hoping that you have this hour's 1 minute chart up at TRO. But if you look at the beginning of this hour, the first entry point would have been at the 70 line, and if you would have taken that first trade, and gone in, you could have gone in and you could have been up, 3.5 pips. Now, you have to make a decision. We've been talking this week about, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and know when to bank them. Just kind of doing a little, twist on Kenny Rogers there for a second. But, if you were up 3 pips and price comes to a stop, maybe it's time just to bank it. Maybe you do want to hold it and say, you know what, I think this thing's going to go up. That's okay. And if you notice that price, it did go down, and you could have taken a little bit of a loss there, but the rules strictly say if you're up 3 pips, but you stop loss at -3. So you would have taken a 3-pip loss there, or if you let it, or you could have gotten out with +3. That would have been, if you took your +3 there, you're already 1/3 for your daily goal. At least I'm there 1/3 for my daily goal. You wait for the next trade to come along, and the next trade comes along, and he triggers, and you run down, and you're underwater by maybe a pip or 2, no big deal. Next thing you know, you look, and a couple minutes later, you're up +6, +6.5. Okay, you're there. Now, personally, if you're up 6.5, you got 2 choices. Knowing that what it had just done and run all the way against me, I'd probably go out and just get out. If it starts to come against me, I'd probably get out with +5 and just take my +5. Now, if I have +3, +5, I've got 8 pips already for the day, and that's pretty close to making goal for the day, and I've done it in 1 hour. If I decided to hold on to it and follow 10-5-1 strictly, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, I would have gotten out with +1. So, let's say worst case scenario, I would have been -3 and +1. So now I'm underwater by 2 pips. Okay, you wait a few more minutes, you got another trigger, and the next trigger, you would have been up +9. Okay, this is where I said to TRO, I'm going to go on a rant here. Because the thing is, if I'm up +9, okay, and I let that thing go against me to the point at which, I'm now only +1 or so, or something like that, I'm sorry, but we're being foolish here, because it's the type of thing where I'm +9. First of all, I'm only 8 points away, from the full 10 pips that you're trying to make. Just get out. And if you don't get out, when that thing hits +5, just get out +5. So worst case scenario, you should be sitting here at the end of this hour at, -3, +1, +5, and so you're actually getting out of the hour, with +3. That's not bad. 1 hour you're actually out, with plus 3, and that's the worst case scenario you should be sitting in. Best case scenario, you got plus 3, plus 5, and plus 9. And that's a really good day. And, and the thing is, it's like anything else. It takes practice, You have to go and practice it, and you have to see how the market's doing, looking to make sure that it's not going and doing silly stuff, and you could be in a good shape. The other thing that you could have done with the Walmal method is that we know that the previous hour's high was at 68.6. So what we could have done was just at the beginning of the hour, as soon as it popped up above that, jumped in right there at the break of the previous hour's high, and you could have run that up, and you would have been up like 4.5 bips. Now, now you know that there's no way that you should have ever gone underwater if you had played it that way. And generally speaking, that's how I play it. I don't have to go and take the trade to 70. I could have gotten into that trade 2 pips earlier because it was breaking the previous hour high. And so I'm just saying these things just as little pointers to help you out. But the most important thing here is you got to practice. You got to practice, and pay attention to what you're doing. It's the type of thing I've done a lot of flying as of late, and even with the COVID restrictions and everything else. But one of the things that I noticed is that I had a real treat, and that was that I was on a little itty bitty plane. And there was not enough seats in the plane, and I got to sit in the co-pilot seat, and that was really, really neat for me because I've always wanted to learn how to fly. But one of the things I noticed was that the pilot sat there and he had a little piece of paper and a pen in his hand, and he was writing things down the entire flight, constantly doing it. And I asked him, so what are you doing? He said, well, I know because of this and this and this. Usually this happens because of winds, or this happens because of currents. This happens because of whatever. And he was constantly monitoring. Well, I don't think it's very much different with trading. We got to be constantly monitoring what's happening. And if we're constantly monitoring, what will happen is we can take advantage of those little moves of 3 pips, 5 pips, 10 pips, and just take advantage of it. Now, obviously, if you're looking to go and do a different type of trading where you're looking to pick up 20 or 30 pips, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about doing the Walmal method where you're looking to pick up 10, 5, 1.
Well,
you have any comments on that?
Yeah, well, the main thing is you enter a trade, you want to exit with the profit if possible. Sometimes you enter the trade and it goes against you, you never had the chance. But even if it's, 2 points, that's one of the things I've been doing lately. And it's like when I don't do it, I usually regret it, because if price, just stops moving in my direction, it's not a 50-50 probability. It's, I don't know what it is. And if it moves against me, I might not have a chance to get out with the profit. So, in these little 1-minute candles, you get in and it spikes up and stops. Well, guess what? You can see, sometimes it'll continue and sometimes it won't. So you've got to be in the moment, take the profit, forget about what you could have had, and wait for the next, signal to come by. And it will come by.
Yeah, and it will, and that's exactly right, because you think about it, in this hour alone, just the Walmal method, we had 3-4 opportunities to go and pick up profit, and every one of them potentially was profitable, and that's the nice thing about it. Now, sure, does it happen every hour? No, of course not, but at the same time, we like to go and say stacking pips. Well, that's what you're doing, stack, and at the end of the day, if you needed to get 10 pips, you should easily be there, and especially if you don't do foolish things like go and be up 3, 4, 5 pips. The next thing, wonder why you're getting stopped out at 7 pips, why you're being stopped out at 10 pips. That, to me, is, it's a little crazy. Now, in the old days, yeah, it would make more sense to do that because more than likely it wouldn't do that. But that's not the market we're in. The market we're in is it's a little bit more jittery than it used to be, and it will jump up 5, 6, 7 pips, and then it will jump down 7, 8, 9 pips, and then it'll go back up 10, 11, 12 pips. Okay, well that tells me I got opportunity. I can go and I know that it's using your analysis or your story of a Yale student or the rat. Well, the idea is, I'm just going to go and pick the trade direction I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to go and take those trade directions. And as soon as I got some profit on the table, I've got my cheese, as you like to say. I'm going to take the cheese and I'm going to go stash it, and then I'm going to go wait. I'm going to wait for another opportunity to get some more cheese.
Exactly, because I just flipped over to a 1 minute chart that has the one of the ones we use for DSRs. But I mean, you look, we got a 2 ball, a 1 ball, a 3 ball at the bottom. And we've been in this video for about 10 minutes, and so there was opportunities. From ball to ball, it's like 5 or 6 pips. You could have 2-pipped this thing to death if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, and admittedly that is scalping, and that's not for everybody, But the thing is, it can be highly profitable, if that's your mindset, and you're able to do that, and you got quick. You do have to have, I don't want to say lightning fast reaction time, but you do have to have quick reaction time. In other words, when I say quick reaction time, it's the type of thing. I see the opportunity, I understand the opportunity, I take the opportunity. You have to be able to process it just that quick.
Right.
You can't sit there, well, I wonder what happened over here. And the thing is, all those things, we always say, you got to look at your charts. You got to go and look left. A lot of those things, it's the type of thing where if I know that I'm taking a trade into a wall, I don't have to look left to see that I'm in the wall. I've already done all that homework already. I know where the walls are. I see the walls. I know that, hey, this is potentially can be a problem, and I probably don't want to take this trade here. And by doing that and having that, that comes with time and comes with practice. I think, Tiora, I said to you yesterday, we were talking about a different type of system that we've been playing around a little bit with. And I think I said to you, I don't need to go and look at this anymore. I don't need your indicator on the chart anymore because I can just see it. And that's what has to happen. It has to become that much part of you. You have to be able to just completely visualize it and see what price is and know what it's doing based on what it's done in the past.
Yeah, I think we were talking about the imbalances. In fact, on this chart, we've got the imbalance indicator, and you can see how price got rejected out of the imbalance that was between 75 and 77. It just pushed down and then pushed and then created another imbalance. But if you go to this chart, I mean, I can see the imbalance because there's the low of this candle, there's the high. So right there's an imbalance, right here, here's the low, here's the high, there's an imbalance. The indicator, the whole thing about the, in this particular case, this indicator just puts it on there so you don't have to look that hard. But after a while, it's just, you just see it automatically. You see price just is leaving imbalances behind. That's what it's doing right now. And it's going right back down. And it's probably going to hit that 60 level, which is that return bar right here.
Right. It'll probably go through there, and it'll probably stall out somewhere along the midpoint of that return bar.
And it just did stall at about the midpoint.
And the thing is, the great thing about the market is it does the same thing over and over and over again. We were talking to somebody last week, Tiro, and if you remember, he went and said, trading is boring. It just keeps on doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And he's right. It does. It's just that you need to go and then be able to go and take advantage of the fact that it does the same thing over and over again. And I said a few minutes ago that, it's going to hit that midpoint, probably stall, and then it'll make a decision whether it's going to blast through it or it's going to go and just reject off of it. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I know that that's a point of interest. That's some place to pay attention to.
Exactly.
And so if I was in a trade from the top, I would be sitting there saying, okay, there's that midpoint. I'm in. I'm up. A bunch of pips right now. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go bank it, because where my entry would have been from the top, at that midpoint level, I would have been up 12 pips.
Right.
So I would say that's a day's work.
Yeah, exactly. So, fellow traders, just remember, you got to take pips when you can. You don't want to give them back. You don't want to let a winner become a loser, because it's not what you trade, It's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One. Over and out.